Hi, I am Alyssa Mastroni and I'm the Evaluation Data Manager at the Evaluation Center. This video will provide an overview of the GPRA Client Outcome Measures tool. This is the tool that will be used to interview clients receiving SOAR-funded opioid use disorder treatment services. Please note that since the full name of this tool is quite the mouthful, from here on out I will be referring to it as the tool. Also note that the final tool is currently awaiting approval from the United States Office of Management and Budget. Therefore, we do not know the exact questions that will make up the tool. Instead of reviewing the tool question by question, this video will provide a high-level understanding of the types of questions and sections that will make up the tool. Once the tool is finalized, there will be additional trainings and resources available that review the tool question by question. In order to access the online tool, you must have a SPARS account. A SPARS account is required for all individuals who will be administering the tool and entering the data that is collected. If you have not already, please watch the training video on the GPRA data collection process. This video walks you through the entire GPRA data collection process, including explaining how to access your SPARS account. Once you have gained access to SPARS, completed the client contact form, and logged into SPARS, you will begin administering the tool through an interview with your client. The tool requires 4 specific data collection time points: intake, 3-month follow-up, 6-month follow-up, and discharge. Keep in mind that it is the responsibility of the providers, clinicians, intake coordinators, or whoever usually completes the intake process at your program to complete all intake GPRA interviews with clients receiving SOAR-funded services. All GPRA interviews after intake will be completed by contractors hired by the Evaluation Center. As I previously mentioned, clinicians, intake or site coordinators, or whoever may be completing the intake process for your program will complete all intake GPRA interviews. Intake interviews must be completed 3 days after the patient enters the program. Each interview will take 30 to 45 minutes to complete, and all data from the GPRA interview must be entered into SPARS within 7 days of that interview. We know the tool will be comprised of components from both the Addiction Severity Index, which measures the severity of reported problems and treatment needs, and the Modified Colorado Symptom Index, which measures psychiatric symptomatology. Based on these tools, the following types of questions will be asked. During the intake interview, information about the client will be collected in the Records Management, Planned Services, Behavioral Health Diagnoses, and General Information sections. All fields in the Records Management section will be completed without asking the client. In this section, you will re-enter the client ID and site ID, enter the contract or grant ID, which is provided on this slide, or you may find it on the SOAR Colorado website. Enter the date of admission to the treatment program, which may be different from the actual interview date. The interview must be completed within 3 days of admission to the program. And you will finally enter the interview type, which in this case will be intake or baseline. It is important to note the accuracy of the data entered into this section. This section in the previous tool could not be edited once submitted. Therefore, if there were any data entry errors, the client record had to be deleted entirely and re-entered. If you enter an incorrect data point by mistake, please contact the Evaluation Center as soon as possible, and we can help you re-enter the data. Again, you will not ask your client questions in the Planned Services section. You will complete this section based on what services your client will be receiving. This includes fields about treatment setting or modality, treatment services, case management and recovery services, medical services, aftercare services, and education services. The Behavioral Health Diagnoses section is the final section that you will complete without asking your client. In this section, you will be required to enter your client's behavioral health diagnoses. The General Information section is the first section that you will begin engaging your client in the interview. At intake, you will ask the client's date of birth, sex, gender, race, sexual identity, and any military service. Additionally, as in all other follow-up interviews, the General Information section will also inquire about cigarette use, HIV, hepatitis B and C statuses. Please note that the questions on infectious diseases are particularly sensitive. If your client doesn't know or refuses to answer these questions, as well as other sensitive questions throughout the tool, there are options to note these responses as don't know if the client reports not knowing, or refuses if the client refuses to answer. In order to encourage client participation, especially regarding sensitive and invasive questions, it is helpful to frame the interview as a tool that will help improve the quality and availability of treatment for others in the future. After the first few general sections are complete, you will then transition into the main part of the tool, which inquires about client mental and physical health, education, employment and support, substance use, crime and criminal justice, and family and social relationships. Many of the questions ask about personal aspects of your clients' lives. There are also questions that ask about particularly sensitive topics, which include substance use, suicide, and violence and abuse. Therefore, it is helpful to let your client know when you are transitioning from one section to the next, and whether that section might contain sensitive questions. During the intake interview, most of these sections will ask about lifetime behaviors and experiences. During follow-up interviews, these questions will be focused on behaviors or experiences since the previous interview. Keep in mind, all questions in the tool must be asked as written. Do not eliminate or substitute questions. You may reword a question only if the client is having trouble understanding that question. It is crucial that the intake interview is completed accurately and within 3 days of your client being admitted and receiving SOAR-funded services. All GPRA data must be entered into SPARS within 7 days of the completed intake interview. Thank you for watching this video. Stay tuned for additional trainings and resources regarding the tool once it is released. Check back on the SOAR Colorado website for the most up-to-date information.